psychopath or a strong Christian. It was really confusing. And Jared Rose reminded me of this verse here, 1 John 4:1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God. Because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesseth that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is of God. And Jared Rose confessed that Jesus is come in the flesh, and so therefore I knew he was of God. And so I trusted him. And he convinced me that we should go visit our brother in the Lord, Ken Hovind, in prison. And I thought, well, that's kind of silly. I got to take off work, and I don't have the time. And even Ken Hovind called me and said, you don't need to come visit me, brother. I'm doing all right. Just do these things for me, and everything will be fine. I said, Jared, Ken Hovind said I don't need to come visit you in prison. And Jared Rose said, you need to go visit him in prison because the Bible says to go visit him in prison. It didn't say anything about what Ken Hovind wanted or not. So I can't argue with a brother. I can't argue with a brother who quotes the Bible like that. So Jared and I, Rose, we met in Pensacola, Florida, and we went to Milton, Florida, Santa Rosa County Jail, and we saw Ken Hovind. We saw Ken Hovind in prison, and it's been a whirlwind since then. The man, I would like for you guys to imagine our own pastor, who just gave that sermon, and how much we love our own pastor, if he had gone into every college all over America and pissed off, excuse my French, made angry the highfalutin schools because he put down their evolutionary lies, and he did it in such a way that it made them very, very angry. And then they put him in court, and in front of his family, and in front of his children, and in front of his friends, and in front of his church members, the judge from the authority of the government said that he was worse than a rapist when his crime was that he withdrew, his horrible, horrible crimes is that he withdrew money from the bank and that he prayed for somebody on the radio. And in front of everybody, including his family, his friends, his children, his grandchildren, said that he was worse than a rapist. And that same judge is going to be trying him again. He's already spent 8 years in jail. And I would say this, we have people like Wesley Snipes that have spent a little bit of time in jail for tax evasion. We have people like Al Sharpton that owes over $4.5 million in back taxes and has visited our usurper president over 80 times in the White House. And this man, even if you believe he's guilty of all the charges that he withdrew money from the bank, his own money, and that he prayed for somebody on the radio, and if you believe that he's a tax fraud, which I don't believe for a second, he's already spent 8 years in jail, and now they're trying to keep him in jail for the remainder of his life. There are some men in the Dallas Men's Bible Study who got up and said that's not right, and they supported him, and they weren't afraid to put their mugs on a camera and say that they supported him, which is a lot more than I can say for preachers all over America that have ignored our brother in the Lord who is in prison and is an innocent brother in prison who does not need to be there. So I would just, I just would say that please remember Ken Hovind in prison. His trial is coming up in 2 weeks. I thank you for the opportunity to speak about him tonight. He is weighing heavy as a burden on a lot of people's hearts, including my own, including the pastor's own heart, including men in the Dallas Men's Bible Study. And he needs to be out of that prison. He's an innocent brother in the Lord. He's been put in there by a satanic system. And there's a flyer back there I would ask you to check into. It has a lot more details. And I really do appreciate this church, and I appreciate our pastor who has bold enough to say the truth, and they don't care what the world, they're more interested in pleasing God than pleasing their fellow man, and they're more interested in what the Bible says than any other opinions from man. So I appreciate. I'm not really a good public speaker, but I do have a burden in the Lord for Pastor Ken Hovind. Thank you very much.
All right.